Hey everybody, welcome to my top 20 favorite sophomore albums, part 2. Yes, last week I did part 1, which I was just covering 20 through 11. Originally, I wasn't going to do it into two parts. I was just going to do it in one video, the whole, top 20 list, but the part 1 video was getting too long. So I decided to just split this up into two parts. So yeah, this is part 2 of my favorite sophomore albums. And if you haven't seen uh, part 1 yet, uh, go check that out and then come back for this video. Yes. So yeah, so this will be technically top 10. This will now I'll be talking about you know from number 10 to number 1. So yeah. Um. All right. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Okay, number 10 is a heavy metal band, a heavy metal album by most likely my favorite heavy metal band. That is Toxicity by System of a Down. Yeah, this album changed my life. I fucking love this album. Just such a great heavy metal, new metal album, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I love it. I got great songs on here, such as Prison Song, Needles, X, Chop Suey, of course, Bounce, Forest, ATWA, um, Toxicity, that self titled track, Psycho, and Aerials, which is probably my favorite. Yeah, awesome album. Maybe my favorite heavy metal album, possibly, and I think System of a Down is my favorite heavy metal band. Although, okay, I do have another album coming up that is higher than this that you might could consider it to be metal. I don't know. I would say more alternative metal than anything, but so maybe this isn't my favorite heavy metal album, but but anyways, but yeah, awesome album though. System of a Down Toxicity is number 10. All right, number 9 is an album by a pretty underrated '90s band. I mean, I think a lot of people might have heard them, but if so, they probably just only heard one song. But I think they're a great band, and this is probably their best album. That is Fashion Nuggets by Cake. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't own this album, and it sucks because I love this album, but unfortunately, I don't own it. But yeah, Cake is a great underrated '90s band. They're kind of weird, but awesome at the same time, and they have a fucking trumpet player. Yeah, a rock band with a trumpet player. Like that's really interesting. Um, yeah, this album's great. Got some great songs on here, such as Frank Sinatra, The Distance, which is the most popular Cake song. Friend is a four-letter word. Daria, their cover of I Will Survive. Um, perhaps. Italian Leather Sofa, which is actually my favorite on the album. Yeah, this is a great album. I really enjoy it. And I do like Cake a lot. The band and the food, the dessert. But yeah, Cake. I also really like Fashion. Or no, this is Fashion. I like Comfort Eagle also. I'm not sure which one I prefer. Probably Fashion Nugget, but Comfort Eagle's probably a close second. But um, yeah, Fashion Nugget by Cake is my number 9. All right. Number 8, this was the album I was talking about that I said that could be also heavy metal. I would say more alternative metal, but yeah. My number 8 is Anima or Aenima, whatever you. I don't know. I should have looked up how to actually say it. I was planning on doing it and I forgot. But I've heard some people call it Anima and some call it Aenima. I don't know. I'll say Anima just because it's easier to say. But yeah, this album, Anima by Tool. I don't. Did I say Tool already? I think I forgot. But yeah, this album changed my life. This I remember I was I think I was a freshman in high school whenever I first got into Tool and whenever I first got into this I first bought this album and I loved it. I could not stop listening to this album. I mean, I love Tool just in general as a band, but this album in particular, I remember I would listen to constantly, like just nonstop. And yeah, this is I would probably have to say this is one of the best albums I've ever heard. It is amazing. Yeah, Aenima, awesome album. Great songs on here such as Stinkfist, Eulogy, Hooker with a Penis. That's a it's a weird name, but yeah, 46 and 2, Push It, the self-titled track, and also Third Eye, which is my favorite song on the album, probably my favorite Tool album, which is a 15-minute song, but it is fucking epic, and it even starts with the late great Bill Hicks. Ah, fuck, I fell out. The late great Bill Hicks is on. It's there's like some samples of his stand up on that song. So yeah, and I love Bill Hicks. He's my favorite stand up comedian. Rest in peace. But yeah, the CD fell out of the case. I had to fix that once I paused this. But anyway, so this album is awesome. I love it. I still like it. I still love it a lot, actually. Even though I wouldn't necessarily call myself like a big Tool fan anymore, but I still love this album. So yeah, Anima or Aenima, whatever you want to call it. That is number 8. Okay, number 7. Like Cake, this is also another underrated '90s band and an underrated '90s album. That is Last Splash by the Breeders. Man, this album kicks ass. Yeah, the Breeders. Those of y'all who don't know who the Breeders are, it is Kim Deal, the original bass player for the Pixies. This is her band. Her and her sister, her twin sister Kelly, is in the band too. Um, yeah, and this album is awesome. I also like the debut album Pod. That's a pretty good album, and even the one after this, titled TK, is pretty good too. But this one is definitely their best. Like it's as good as I would say it's as good as um, Doolittle by the Pixies. So yeah, which by the way, that album is also on the list coming up. I won't say what number, but that is coming up. But yeah, Last Splash, awesome album. Got songs on here such as New Year, Cannonball, Invisible Man, my favorite No Aloha, Do You Love Me Now, I Just Want to Get Along, Divine Hammer, Saints, Driving on 9. Yeah, awesome album. Yeah, I recommend this album. If you haven't heard this one, if you like the Pixies, but you haven't heard the Breeders for some reason, I recommend starting with this album. It is awesome. Yeah, Last Splash by the Breeders is number 7. All right. Okay, so number 6. Now this might be a this might be a weird one. It is a weird one actually, and I think a lot of people don't even really like this album. Even fans of the band, a lot of them don't really like this album. But some might say that this is the worst by this band, which I definitely disagree. So yeah, number 6 is from my favorite band. I think they're my favorite band at least. They're a band I have talked about on this album. I've done a album. I did a discography ranking of them, and also I did an album ranking of one of their albums. My number 6 is The Pod by Ween. Yeah. This album is pretty crazy. I would say this might be the Trout Mask replica of the '90s, maybe. Although I might have to say this might be a little bit better than Trout Mask replica in some ways, musically at least, because there are some legit good songs on here, like there really are. But then there's also some other songs that are just all over the place, but some of them I still love anyways. Just like some really weird songs that some might say they're bad. I just say they're brown. So yeah, but yeah, got got songs on here such as "Strap on That Jammy Pack," which a lot of people hate that song. I actually like it a lot. Dr. Rock, Frank, Stallion Part 1 and 2. Right to the Ways and the Rules to the World. That is an awesome song. Cats and Fantasy is also an awesome song. Got Molly, uh, Awesome Sound, Mon- Mononucleosis, Oh My Dear, Falling in Love, She Fucks Me, and probably the best song on here is Pork Roll, Egg, and Cheese. But I don't care what you say about this album. I love it. I honestly, out of the first three albums, this one's my favorite. And then I like God, Ween, Satan. And I'm honestly not a big fan of Pure Guava. Like a lot of people say that this is like Ween's brownest album. I think Pure Guava is their brownest album, honestly. Like there are some good songs on there, don't get me wrong with. There's a lot of terrible songs on it to be honest. So yeah, and I'm also not a big fan of La Cucaracha, which is probably my least favorite Ween album. But no, I really enjoy the Pod. I think it's great. Yeah, the Pod by Ween is number 6. All right, top 5. Number 5 is actually my favorite hip hop album. That is, I don't think they're my favorite hip hop band because I actually consider them to be more as a rock band. But this album is a hip hop album. Like their first two are definitely hip hop albums. But um, my number 5 is Paul's Boutique by the Beastie Boys. Yeah, definitely my favorite Beastie Boys album. This album also changed my life. There's a lot of life changing albums on this list. I've realized, but yeah, Paul's Boutique is amazing. It's a masterpiece. Got songs like "Shake Your Rump," "Eggman," which is my favorite. "Sound of Silence," or "Sound of Science," actually, not Silence. That's Simon and Garfunkel, of course. "Car Thief," "Looking Down the Barrel of a Gun." Yeah, this album. Oh, "Hey Ladies," of course, too. Yeah, I love Paul's Boutique. This is an amazing album. I love the use of sampling on this album. Like, there's so many good samples from songs on here. This album is amazing. I love it. Spoilers for my Beastie Boys ranking coming sometime soon. I have to do another poll, but I'll do it in between. My next poll for a band I'll do will be between Beastie Boys and Queens of the Stone Age because they both lost to Beck, which is the next artist I'm gonna rank. But maybe Beastie Boys might be the next one, them or Queens of the Stone Age. But then after Queens of the Stone Age, it'll be Beastie Boys for sure. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite. Unless that could change, but I doubt it. I doubt it. I love this album, Paul's Boutique. That is my number 5. All right, number 4 is a this one's not from a well, actually, it's kind of from a band, but it's mostly from a solo artist with a band. Um, and this is one of my favorite solo artists. I've always been a fan of this guy ever since I've heard this album. Actually, um, yeah, my number 4 is Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere by Neil Young and Crazy Horse. This is Neil Young's second solo album. But he has Crazy Horse on this one. Yeah, this album is amazing. I love every single song on here, which are only 7 songs, but they're all great. I'll just go ahead and name them all because they're all great. I got Cinnamon Girl, the self-titled song, which is super catchy. Round and Round, Down by the River, The Losing In, Running Dry, and Cowgirl in the Sand. This album is awesome. I love it. My brother really likes it a lot too. It's I think one of his favorite albums as well. Yeah, this album, like Paul's Boutique and Aenima and some others, I think I said Toxicity too. This album also changed my life. Yeah, and it's definitely my favorite Neil Young album. Yeah, everybody knows this is Nowhere is number 4. All right. My number 3. I did an album ranking for this one. Go check that out if you haven't already. Yeah, I ranked every song from this album. My number 3 is Siamese Dream by the Smashing Pumpkins, not the Smashing Pumpkins. I always don't like it when people call them the Smashing Pumpkins. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Smashing Pumpkins sound better. But yeah, and this is also the deluxe edition that I have. But yeah, Siamese Dream, an amazing album. In my opinion, they're best. I think some people might say Melancholy and Infinite Sadness, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but I love this one even more. Siamese Dream is awesome. Got songs on here such as Cheer Up Rock, Quiet, Today, Mayonnaise is amazing. Space Boy, Geek USA, um, Disarm, uh, and Luna, which is my favorite on the album actually. Yeah, I love this album. Siamese Dream, so good. One of the best albums that come out of the '90s. Yeah, Siamese Dream by Smashing Pumpkins is number 3. All right, number 2. This album I did it. This was actually the last band I did a discography ranking for. And this spoilers for that video, but this was my number 1. Yeah, number 2 is White Light, White Heat by the Velvet Underground. Yeah. Um, this is a great album. This only has 6 songs on there, but it's awesome. The only song I'm not really crazy about is I Heard Her Call My Name, but all the others are great, like the self-titled, The Gift, Lady Godiva's Operation, Here She Comes Now, and Sister Ray, which is 17 minutes long, but it's amazing. Um, I love this album. White Light, White Heat. One of my all-time favorite albums for sure. Yeah, White Light, White Heat is by the Velvet Underground is number 2. All right, and my number 1. Now I might be cheating with my number 1 actually because technically you could say that this is actually their third album, not their second. Because there was an EP that came out before the debut album, and some people, including myself, actually considered that to be the first album. But I decided just not to count EPs and just I went ahead and just went with this. But yeah, um, so yeah, my number 1 favorite sophomore album. If you don't want to count this, that's fine. Then it's White Light, White Heat. But if you don't care, my number 1 is Doolittle by the Pixies, which is also another album I did a album ranking for. Go check it out. This might be my favorite album of all time. Either this or Joy Division's Unknown Pleasures. Like that one's starting to get up there for me, but I don't know. I love this album. Like not a bad song on here. Like everybody knows, this is Nowhere. There's not a bad song on here. Even the weakest songs on the album, like Crackety Jones and There Goes My Gun. Even those songs are very good. Like there's not a bad song on this album. Yeah, got great songs like Debaser, Tame, Wave of Mutilation, I Bleed, Here Comes Your Man, Monkey Gone to Heaven, Mr. Greaves, Number 13 Baby, which I think might be, no, actually it's not my favorite. It's not, but it's one of my favorites on here. Um, La La Love You, Hey, and Gouge Away, which is my favorite. But yeah, Doolittle by the Pixies, amazing album, one of the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest alternative rock album ever made. Yeah, Doolittle by the Pixies is my number one favorite sophomore album. All right, there we go. I'm sorry if I seem a little out of it. I'm kind of tired. I actually, in between one of the pauses, I actually had to go get a drink because I was like, felt like I was dehydrated, and I still kind of feel that way. So I'm sorry if I seem tired. I am, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's my top 20 favorite sophomore albums. So in the comments, please give me your favorite your top 20 or top 10, or just say what your favorite sophomore album is. And for all right, so this coming Monday is going to be a movie review. I don't know what yet. I'll put up a poll. I mean, by the time this comes out, it's already announced what it is. Um, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, yeah, I don't know, you'll find out what it is. The movie I'll be reviewing, but yeah, and then on Thursday will be a album ranking, and I don't know what yet, but I think yeah, it'll be an album ranking of something. Yeah, you'll just have to wait and see for that too. Two surprise videos, kind of. So yeah. All right, so please like, subscribe, comment, and hit the bell, and I'll see you later. All right, peace.